Well, Jan, fabulous to have you with us, and we've just been talking about how much Aggborough has changed or hasn't over the years. What's it like to be back pitchside?
Well, it just looks like it did when I left in 2004. Not a great deal have changed as such, not that I expected to anyway. But no, it looks like it's meant to look.
Yeah, and in terms of the passage of time, obviously it's been a long time since you left for the second time. How do you kind of reflect on the passage of time, if you like?
Yeah, it has been a long time, but obviously when this came up, and we're talking about 25 years since the promotion, when you start talking about these things and then you remember back to your days here and memories come flooded back. So yeah, it's been terrific, and still from time to time I speak to some of the players and I've run into one or two of the fans around the country every now and again, and it was a great time. I mean, to be involved in professional sport at any level.
Time, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That has definitely changed. There was no sprinklers in my day. But to be involved in professional sport is great. But, you know, to be able to win like we did is something that you should remember, because it doesn't happen that very often. There is very little rewards as such when you play professional sport. Because there's so many trying to achieve the same thing as you're trying to achieve.
And just quickly, we were talking before, you're about to address a sold-out room of people who remember your time here very well. It must be great to be able to come back and mix, as you in the bar there with some of the old players already. It must be nice for you personally.
Yeah, I think it is, and I felt that when the approach was made, I felt it was important to be here, because I was a big part of it, and I thought it'd be nice to see some of the players, and it'd be nice to see some of the fans and see what their memories are. I know what my memories are,
yeah.
But it's always nice to hear, because other people have memories. I mean, I've just checked into a hotel in the town centre, and there was a young fan outside, and he said, you know, at the time, he said I was only a young teenager. He said, but I was at every game, I remember it all, and he said, I just want to come down and shake your hand. And so it doesn't matter what level you're at, it matters to people. Talk about Liverpool, it matters to more people. But it doesn't matter more. It matters to as much as people here. And when I came here and became the manager of Kidderminster Harriers, and people said, you know, we have one dream, and the dream is to try and play in the Football League. So we managed to give them that. How that turned out will be different from everybody. Some enjoyed it, and I guess some of them thought we might be better off being back in non-league football, isn't it? But at least they had a taste of it, and maybe one day they'll return.
You've touched on it there. I mean, in terms of your career, and you know, the heights that you've played up, people might not think about Kidderminster as a career highlight for Jan Molby, but for you personally, where does it rank? Well,
it ranks right up there. I mean, also because it's the most success I've had as a manager, and you do feel a different pressure and different responsibility when you're a manager. So to be able to come down here, and I'm not trying to make a big thing out of it, but I came on the back of Kidderminster. I've had 2 seasons where they finished 17 and 15, and I was never quite sure what the expectations were, you know, before the season. What are we actually hoping that we can achieve? And I got the gist that people thought, well, if we can just improve, if we can get better than what we've been in the last couple of years, then a lot of people would be happy. And then I guess after 5 games, when we had 3 points and almost bottom of the league, probably most people thought, I wish we'd have appointed maybe a guy with a little bit more knowledge of non-league in it, but in the end, I think we got the hang of what we wanted to do pretty quick.
You're going to tell some of those stories tonight, of course. I wanted to touch on a couple of the other memories that perhaps might not get touched on tonight. Thinking perhaps about the time you came back as Harriers manager. I remember a Tuesday night at Northampton when things got a little bit wild, and is that another one that sticks in the memory?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it was an opportunity to come back. Having left and gone to Hull, and that didn't work out, and there was an opportunity to come back here, and obviously thought there still was a possibility to achieve what we'd hoped to achieve the first time around. And when I'm talking about achieving, I'm not talking about necessarily getting promoted from League 2 to League 1 or whatever, but establish ourselves and sort of get a pathway of how to survive at that level. We didn't really manage to do that. It became a little bit of a mess, and you know, pretty quickly, although it was a little bit after I left that the club managed to get themselves relegated, isn't it? But it just proves that how difficult it is to return to the Football League. There
were a lot of memorable afternoons here, of course. Again, we'll leave aside the promotion-winning season for the courtesy of those who are coming tonight. But yeah, it was always entertaining football, always goals. And is that what you prided yourself on?
Yeah, we tried. We wanted to be positive. We wanted to be attack-minded. We wanted to play going forward. What we never really managed to do was to get out and out goal scorers. You get out and out goal scorers, whoever level you play, they cost money, and we never quite had the budget to bring in out and out goal scorers. So we had to try and share it out, and we had to try and maybe invent a few goal scorers. But I thought we did well in terms of that. And now that we're talking about the Football League, the signing of Bo Henriksen, has to rank up there as one of the smartest bit of business the club has probably ever done.
Well, now we've dried off, Jan, we should obviously talk about Bo, because you had the pleasure of managing quite a few very talented players here, but in terms of the Football League years, if you like, he must be right at the top.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Bo was a really good player, and I remember when we brought him over for him to have a little look around, and before we managed to sell him the idea of joining Kidderminster Harriers, he was kind of saying, what is it you want me to do? He said, because I'm not an out and out sort of number 9 in British terms. He said, I'm not a target man, I'm not good in the air. I said, no. I said, my dream has always been to build a team that plays at pace. So I'm going to put pace around you on either flank and in behind you, and then you just have to link play, and you link play whatever suits you. You can drop deep, you can play up front, you just link play, and then you can sort of work as a second striker. You don't have to share the responsibility of being the first striker in the box. We'll get other people in the box. I'll get Ian Foster in the box, I'll get Colin Larkin, I'll get Dean Bennett, but you just link my play so I can get the ball moved forward quick into the right channels. And when he came and he saw, you couldn't help but be impressed with the pace. Bennett, Foster, Larkin, they gave so many defenders nightmares, and I think Bo just went, wow, I can play with these guys, so he was a great guy. The fans took to him straight away, which also thing helps, isn't it? You come over from Denmark and to play at this level, but the fans, he became a hero in the town. He still is to this very day, and rightly so. I just think he loved the whole sort of thing, but it ran his course. He wasn't here for long. When I came back the second time, he was pretty clear that he wanted to try and do something different, and I was pretty open about it. And off he's gone to do whatever he's done since, and now he's a very successful manager in Germany. I was
going to say, if you had to list one of your Harriers squad from those years to go on and be a potentially very successful European manager, he probably wouldn't have been top of that list.
No, most definitely not. But he went back to Denmark and he became a manager at a second division level, at a sort of a very iconic football club, a bit of a cult football club, and he suited their image because of the way he is. But he did so well that clubs at a higher level had a look at him, and he won the league in Denmark with a team played in the Champions League. Then he got himself a move to Switzerland, and then of course now he's in Germany doing an incredible job.
In terms of the support here in Aggborough, obviously back in the day there were Football League teams with much bigger fan bases, but there's always a feel that it was a very loyal place to come and watch your football and play your football here. What are your memories of that?
To be fair, I have no complaints. Even as I said before, when we had the first season and we started with 5 games and 3 points, I never felt that was that. Yeah, okay, people were disappointed. Of course people were disappointed. You lose a game of football, you are disappointed, but I never felt that it ran any deeper than that. There was an understanding that, okay, this might take a bit of time, or it might never happen. But of course then, once we sort of got it together, and I think there was a feeling from November onwards that we would do well. Then the interest grew, and we put another 500, sometimes another 1,000 on the gate, and we created a really good atmosphere. We had a good atmosphere behind the goal. Non-league days, you remember, you used to swap ends, and it was terrific. So, yeah, I think we managed to build a little bit of a cult sort of football club, and also because, and I never like to talk about these things, but it is a factor. With our budget, I think generally for the number of years in the Football League, we overachieved. So that's also something to be proud of. But yeah, I've never had any complaints with the fans. I thought they were terrific. They could have given me a bigger clap when I came back with Hull, but maybe that's for another day.
Well, you mentioned as well about the overachieve. For 5 years, obviously, we were an EFL team, and you imagine now establishing yourself in League Two. That's a mammoth achievement today. So perhaps it was a bigger feat than we thought at the time.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, at the time, it didn't feel like that because Kidderminster Harriers were one of the biggest non-league clubs, and it was one of those clubs that everybody looked at and thought, why haven't they gone up? Maybe it's their turn, and we did manage to get there. But then you quickly I mean, you think of some of the teams that came here. Hull City came here, Huddersfield, Swansea, Cardiff. These are big football clubs who came here with much bigger means than what we did but we had second or third pick of players, the players that nobody else wanted. We managed to get here, but we also had a clear way of how we wanted to play, and I come back to the pace because pace hurts anyone, isn't it? And I thought for a spell in the second season in the Football League, and also during Ian Britton's time in the third season, Kidderminster were almost as good as anything at that level.
and a breeding ground for good young players as well making their way.
I was a big fan of young players. Always been a big fan of young players. I mean, we had a number of young players in the squad, but we also had a bit of a project with young players, the likes of Andrew Corbett, John Danby, Ben Davies, and we gave those players an opportunity to be professional footballers. And once you're a professional footballer, you can invest more time to try and become better. And I think they all did that. But I've always been a big fan of. I think if you look back, especially at our football league days, when obviously we were full time and we trained as much as everybody else, we were trying to build a dynamic, energetic football team. I kind of thought that that's the way footballers go, and football's only going to get faster and faster and faster. So I think we were at the forefront of putting young, energetic, quick players into our teams.
You've spoken about not carrying on in management after you left Harriers the second time around. I just wanted to pick back a little on that. Is any part of that due to the fact that you'd achieved so much success and had so many good days at the office, so to speak, in that first time around? That I guess that's in some ways very difficult to replicate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a little bit. But I have to say that I wanted to be a manager just to see where you could take it. But what I found with management was a lot of frustration. And I think when I went to Hull, and everybody sold the idea of this as an opportunity to go to Hull. Well, it was as difficult to manage at Hull as it was with Kidderminster, although with different means. And I think those frustrations at the end probably got the better of me. But then when I got an opportunity to come back here, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I know this club. And the first time around, I'm not suggesting I ran the club. Lionel Newton did a very good job of that as a chairman, but he gave me a lot of responsibilities. And he goes, listen, you make decisions. You're level-headed. You make some decisions. And we made some good decisions. When we came back second time, it wasn't quite like that. And again, those frustrations that I never had the first time around, because Lionel never really put any hurdles in my way. He did his utmost at all given time to try and help me as much as he could. But the second time around, there was hurdles where I thought, okay, this is what I feared. I kind of thought I'd found somewhere where we can maybe get on with it, but it wasn't to be. So since I left Kidderminster, I've had opportunities. I've had opportunities on my doorstep, but it was like the fire had gone out a little bit. It just wasn't something that I was going to pursue.
You've obviously, and still do, keep very much in touch with the modern day game. I'm guessing there's nothing that could tempt you back into any kind of coaching on that?
No, I mean, people have been asking that over the years. You see people and they go, would you ever go back in? And I said, no, of course I wouldn't. I mean, you can only afford to be out the game for so long, and then you're more or less a dinosaur, isn't it? So no, but I've never harboured any of those ambitions. Ever since I left here in 2004, I've never looked and thought, there's a nice job, I wouldn't mind that job. I think it was pretty clear in my mind that is something I did for on and off for 8 years, and I enjoyed for the most of it I enjoyed it, but we ain't going down that road anymore.
Sure, and I guess it's the same with football fans really, as it is for yourself. Any frustrations you had second time round kind of have softened and given way to the really happy memories that came first time round?
Well, I think when you're in it, you feel it all, don't you? You feel all the frustrations, and you don't understand why certain things has to be done. It's a bit like when you're playing a game and you have a referee and you moan during the game, but then after the game you go, well, okay, he only did his best. And it was the same with the club. The people who were in charge of the club the second time around, I guess, made decisions based on what they felt was best for the club. It led to great frustrations from a lot of people in it, but such is life. Things are done for a reason, I think.
Happy memories overall?
Here, yeah, terrific. Better memories than what I could have hoped for, really. Because when I took the job in 1999, I don't think the expectations were to win the league and get promoted.
That might be surprising for some to hear now.
Yeah, no, but it just wasn't, because, and also I think Lionel was pretty clear that we're not going to throw money at this, and we have a budget, and that's what we stick to. And I went, okay, yeah, fair, but there was a bit of room in the budget because we let some players go. And then there was room to bring in players, and I remember when we let the players go, and Jim Conway was the physio, said, we're letting some good players go. I said, yeah, and I don't know whether I can bring in better players, but I feel I can bring a different energy, so let's see and let's try something new. And of course when you do well, you look back and you go, whether that's signing Tim Clark or Ian Clarkson or Scott Stamps or Mike Mars or taking Ian Foster from Bath or whoever, they all look like genius decisions, don't they? But that's how it is when you win, isn't it? So yeah, one season you make good decisions, the next season you make decisions are not so good, such as football.